American Marines in the first heavy ground fighting of the war, and Allied victories against Iraq's Scud missile launchers.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Tonight, America at war.
Good evening. The American commander of the Allied forces in the Persian Gulf says that Operation Desert Storm is right on schedule. But the first major ground fighting of the war has been going on for more than 24 hours now, and it has killed at least a dozen Marines. It began yesterday when Iraqi armored battalions crossed into Saudi Arabia at several points along the Kuwait border. Met with fierce firepower from Allied air and ground forces, the Iraqis suffered heavy losses and they were forced back everywhere but at the deserted coastal town of Khafji. There, Iraqis took up positions and the battle was joined. NBC's Brad Willis with the Marines outside of Khafji is the pool reporter for the U.S. television networks.
At 10:45 a.m., Marine artillery began pounding the city of Khafji. Round after round of 155-millimeter shells. The men scrambling to load and reload. You know there are enemy tanks that have moved into Khafji.
Check.
Iraqis have come down for the first time.
Yes.
And invaded a city in Saudi Arabia. What do you men want to do with them?
Destroy them.
South of the city, tow missile vehicles moved to block any advances by the 5 Iraqi tanks and some 100 Iraqi soldiers who reportedly invaded the city overnight. But what began as a defensive action soon became a pitched battle. Word came that as many as 80 more Iraqi vehicles, including tanks, were moving south from Kuwait to join the fight. This artillery battery has had 2 primary missions today. The first, pounding a position inside Khafji, where they believe the Iraqi tanks are located. Secondly, attacking a major road that leads into the city to prevent Iraqi reinforcements from joining the battle. Shortly before noon, the Marines were told the battle appeared to be over.
It looks like 2 battalions of Iraqis are wishing to surrender, and that they comprise approximately 80 tanks.
80 tanks?
80 tanks, yes, sir. And the Saudis are closing in on Khafji in 3 directions, so right now there's a slowdown in our firing.
But within minutes, it was clear the surrender was not real. We could hear distant firing in Khafji, and we're told the Iraqis were fighting, not giving in.
If they're there today, we'll get them between our air and our artillery.
The alert began last night, Marines hitting their bunkers, then donning their gas masks. The Marines were surprised, even baffled, that Iraqis would be so bold as to attempt to take Khafji. But just 12 hours later, what most thought was a minor incident became a growing battle. During the battle today, primarily Iraqi forces against Saudi and Qatari forces, the Marines played a supporting role. But at midday, a daring rescue was planned of 2 U.S. Army soldiers pinned down at the entrance to Khafji. A platoon of tow missile vehicles raced to the city gates, Cobra attack helicopters overhead. But the mission failed.
They weren't in the vehicle. The tires were spinning, deuce gear was in there, but they weren't in the vehicle. We don't know if they fled or were captured.
3 times, the Cobras attacked, firing tow missiles. One target, an armored personnel carrier, they claim, was hit, the black smoke visible on the skyline. But clearly, the day belonged to the Iraqis. With the Marine 1st Division, Brad Willis, Saudi Arabia.
When Brad Willis filed that report from the field, it did appear that the Iraqis had the advantage. That hellacious fighting, as it was called, involved a lot of Arab against Arab. Saudi forces and troops from the tiny Gulf state of Qatar were involved. NBC's Arthur Kent tonight in Saudi Arabia on the Saudi role and the latest on the battle. Arthur?
Yes, Tom, late word from U.S. ground commanders that more Iraqi troops are massed on the Kuwaiti border, possibly for further attacks. And yes, the Saudis, the battle has taken place in a town the Saudis had closely under watch. But still, it seems they were taken by surprise.
Iraqi units in Kuwait have been shelling the nearby Saudi border town of Khafji since the first day of the war, setting an oil storage tank on fire and forcing evacuation of the 35,000 townspeople. As recently as 5 days ago, Marine units had practiced urban sweep operations in the deserted streets, but no U.S. or Allied troops were posted in the town. Saudi troops patrolled the outskirts, And sources in Washington tonight say that when the Iraqi armored column approached Hafji last night, these Saudi pickets and their support units were taken by surprise and fell back too far, allowing the Iraqis to find cover in the town. Fighting continues, with Saudi units said to have at least 50 Iraqi soldiers and their vehicles surrounded. The U.S. air response to the Hafji attack and 3 other Iraqi incursions has pleased Marine commanders. A-10 ground attack planes and Cobra helicopter gunships destroyed at least 35 tanks and armored vehicles. Pentagon sources say 200 Iraqi troops were killed, with at least 9 taken prisoner. But the loss of 2 Marine light armored vehicles like these, with 12 Marines killed and 2 wounded, raises several questions over Allied detection and response to the attack. Questions that have so far not been answered.
The key questions: why weren't those Iraqi tanks and troops stopped before they were able to take up positions in Hafji? And were those Marine light armored vehicles taken out by heavier Iraqi tanks? And if so, why wasn't there heavier Allied armor there to support them? Tom?
Arthur, did the Iraqis in effect throw a successful sucker punch here?
It seems so. It seems they came into town with their turrets turned backward, a signal of surrender, and then took by surprise the Saudi defenders and opened fire.
All right, thank you very much. Arthur Kent tonight in Saudi Arabia. That ground fighting, of course, was just one piece of the action as Operation Desert Storm continued to rely primarily on Allied airstrikes against a wide array of Iraqi targets. NBC's Fred Francis tonight at the Pentagon on the war according to Stormin' Norman. General Norman Schwarzkopf, commander of the Allied forces. Fred?
Tom, General Schwarzkopf's briefing was a 2-week checklist of the death and destruction of Saddam's military. He gave hope to Israelis and Saudis that Saddam had few mobile missiles left, showing this video of an F-15 dropping bombs on 11 missiles and their launchers in the western desert 2 days ago. And after 14 days, General Schwarzkopf claimed the Iraqis no longer have a centrally controlled air defense network, meaning Allied pilots have little to fear from Iraqi missiles and nothing to fear from Iraqi aircraft. This MiG-25 was one of 29 Iraqi aircraft shot down in combat.
Splash coming out westbound!
Schwarzkopf boasted that more than 70 supposedly bomb-proof aircraft shelters had been flattened, and that is why Saddam ordered his surviving planes to Iran.
The simple fact of the matter is that now, every time an Iraqi airplane takes off the ground, it's running away.
But the least spectacular of Schwarzkopf's video highlights had the most military significance: the collapsing of rail and road bridges used to supply Iraqi troops. It was also a light moment in an otherwise deadly serious briefing. Watch as a motorist makes it across the bridge just ahead of a 2,000-pound bomb.
I'm now going to show you a picture of the luckiest man in Iraq on this particular day.
These are Iraq's Republican Guards in better times during the Iran-Iraq War. Schwarzkopf said the bombing has cut their supplies down to 10% of what they need to survive.
We're targeting the Republican Guards with about 300 sorties a day.
In the past 48 hours, B-52s dropped 1,500,000 pounds of bombs on the Republican Guards. One resulting explosion, the general claimed, was greater than a volcano's eruption.
It was the major ammunition depot that supplied all of the forces in Kuwait, and with that level of damage done to it, coupled with the fact that most of the bridges are out now, and coupled with the fact that we're attacking the convoys that come down, that means that what they've got is what they've got. And they're going to, if they use that up, they're going to be hurting. Yes, sir, right here.
Schwarzkopf, who beamed with confidence, said he didn't know how many Iraqis had been killed, saying body counts mean nothing. And when asked, what if Saddam isn't impressed?
I would only say the best is yet to come.
The best means heavier bombing of all Iraqi positions, with the hope that Saddam orders his army to follow his air force in retreat. Tom?
Thank you, Fred Francis at the Pentagon. When Nightly News continues in a moment, the United States, the Soviet Union, Israel, and what happens when the war ends. It has tried again and again to link this war to Israel's treatment of the Palestinians, a linkage that the Bush administration again and again has rejected. But a joint U.S.-Soviet statement late Tuesday has created some confusion about all of this. We have NBC's John Dancy at the State Department, Martin Fletcher in Tel Aviv to help sort it out. John, let's begin with you.
Tom, the statement has caused a flap by raising something the administration had said was off the table. linkage. The joint statement was read by Soviet Foreign Minister Besmirtnik. Secretary of State Baker did not even join him at the microphone. It seemed to link an Iraqi pullout from Kuwait with a U.S. and Soviet pledge to seek a Middle East peace settlement that would include the Palestinian issue. It's an idea Saddam Hussein likes and Israel hates. Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir complained publicly today that Israel wasn't even consulted. The Israeli ambassador to Washington, Zalman Shoval, came to the State Department this afternoon to listen to Baker explain that the statement wasn't meant to imply linkage.
I realize it could be interpreted in such a way, but I have no reason not to take the declarations which I've received from the administration at face value.
The White House was furious that the Baker-Besmirtnik statement had caused a flap, which threatened to upstage George Bush on State of the Union night. White House officials were busy telling reporters today Baker had freelanced a statement without getting presidential approval. But Bush denied he was angry at Baker, his close friend.
Are you mad at Secretary Baker?
There are no differences.
Differences with the White House? Heavens no, said Baker's press secretary.
And I know that Secretary Baker is not the least bit concerned concerning the substance of this issue and believes without question there is nothing new in this statement.
Well, what makes all of this so suspicious is that this is an administration which simply does not make sloppy mistakes. One possible explanation may be that the administration is playing good cop, bad cop, sending one message to the Israelis that nothing has changed, while sending another to the Arabs that everything is possible in the future. Tom?
Thank you, John Dancy at the State Department. And Martin Fletcher now in Israel. Is the statement making much of a stir there in your country, where you are now?
Well, Tom, what the fuss is all about is the Palestinians and their future. And since the war began, we haven't heard much from them, but then that isn't surprising.
The Israeli army has them in a headlock, a full curfew over most of the occupied territories. And the Palestinians complain that while the world is looking the other way at Iraq, Israel's arresting their leaders. They arrested Sari Nusseibeh, a professor of philosophy, and accused him of spying for Iraq, which could be punishable by death. The one thing Israeli censors most want to stop Iraq knowing about its Scud attacks on Israel is where the Scuds land. It could help Iraq's aim. And Israel accused Sari Nusseibeh of telling Iraq exactly that. Lucy Nusseibeh says that's nonsense. Her husband had no way of knowing or telling anyone. He's been under curfew.
This is not the kind of atmosphere in which one can gather information to pass on to anyone. It's practically impossible. You know, the only means he had, and that any of us had, of communicating with anyone was by telephone.
Nusseibeh recently told NBC News he had a feeling he'd be arrested soon.
My name has come up every now and again, and yes, I mean, one is terrified. You're walking, you're driving, you go off in the morning, and you don't really know what is going to happen to you.
Nusseibeh has already been accused of being a money man for the Palestinian uprising and of writing leaflets to guide the uprising. Now, in a statement read by another Palestinian spokesman, Nusseibeh said why he thought he'd been arrested.
For peace and moderation.
Nusseibeh is the third Palestinian leader to be locked up in 3 months. The Palestinians believe the Israelis are locking up all the moderate leaders who one day could take part in peace talks. Tom?
Thank you, Martin Fletcher in Israel tonight. And when we come back, caring for the wounded of Operation Desert Storm.
Stouffer's invites you to eat like you really like to eat. Introducing 8 of your all-time home-style favorites, like tender Salisbury steak with our original macaroni and cheese, sliced turkey breast in gravy with homemade stuffing. And to tempt you even more, they're all under 370 calories. So dig in. They're new from Stouffer's.
I thought my husband Dan was perfectly healthy, but the doctor said his cholesterol level was 218. So we changed to a healthier diet, including no cholesterol Mazola, America's leading corn oil.
In a clinical study, a low-fat, low-cholesterol diet, including Mazola, reduced cholesterol an average of 17%.
Did Dan's cholesterol come down?
You bet. 100% pure Mazola corn oil. Together, we're beating cholesterol.
Flu update. The Centers for Disease Control report. 3 highly contagious flu strains, and they're spreading unchecked. Millions will be stricken. What will you do doctors recommend Theraflu. Theraflu is hot liquid medicine. Strong therapy for flu symptoms. Hot liquid therapy that works fast. What will you do when you get the flu? Doctors recommend Theraflu. Strong therapy for flu symptoms.
This war is just getting underway for those who will have to treat its casualties, and today's major ground battle signals what might lie ahead. NBC Science correspondent Robert Bazell tonight with a report on the doctors of Operation Desert Storm.
Until now, the medical personnel involved in the operation have spent their time training or treating victims of accidents and illness. But the planners know that if a massive ground war erupts, they will have to cope with a situation unlike anything seen by American medics for generations.
It could well be you could have, at any given time, 10 times as many casualties being generated by the combat actions in a Gulf War compared to Vietnam. What that results in, and can result in, is a saturation of the medical system.
In Vietnam, most of the wounded were flown quickly by helicopter to hospitals or ships. In the Gulf, medics will first take the wounded to field aid stations, and then to mobile hospitals such as this one. At each stage, the medical personnel might have to perform triage, that is, decide who gets treated and who doesn't.
I have to make the decision as to which people are going to die, and that's something that I've never had to do before in all my medical training.
Other new challenges facing the medical personnel include the threat of poison gas and germ warfare. The staff must worry about its own safety, and it also might have to treat casualties whose wounds are contaminated by gas or germ warfare agents. Battlefield wounds are different from the sorts of injuries and illnesses that most of the medical personnel are used to. Only a few of the doctors and nurses are Vietnam veterans. Some have experience treating gunshot wounds in city hospital emergency rooms. But experts say that even those in the field with no experience will learn quickly, and ultimately, military medicine is not that complex.
It doesn't have to be, because the nature of the injuries are fairly crude. There are holes in people. One doesn't expect to provide the very sophisticated care that you see downtown.
Despite all the danger and uncertainty, civilian and military experts say the medical support for the Gulf operation is about as extensive and well-planned as it could possibly be. Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
When Nightly News continues in a moment, the war is high cost in dollars, and then commentary from John Chancellor.
Ford profiles in quality, customer satisfaction.
Today we realize that quality's got to be number one.
I said that back in '82, and today it's truer than ever.
The looks attracted me, but the performance sold me.
After 2 years, it still shines like new.
We love hearing things like that. The only thing better than a Sable
is 2 Sables. Our goal is to build the highest quality cars and trucks in the world.
At Ford Motor Company, quality is job one.
New Creamy Free is cholesterol and fat-free. Good for you and good tasting.
Is there something wrong? I don't read liking. You're getting paid to love it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'll get...
Love the product.
You've tasted those other cholesterol-free desserts. Now there's hood-free. It's delicious, with flavors like Boston Brownie Sundae and Heavenly Mash.
All right, we're going to try another flavor, all right?
New cholesterol-free, hood-free, in 12 gourmet flavors.
These days, Americans are eating foods that are low in cholesterol. Or are they? Cooked in butter, even these aren't as cholesterol-free as they could be. That's why there's Butter Flavor Pam Cooking Spray. It has a buttery flavor, yet adds no cholesterol. So you can pick foods that are low in cholesterol and keep them that way. Pam, because how you cook is as important as what you cook.
During the course of one 60-minute workout, a body can be depleted of vitamins B6 and C, carbohydrates, and valuable potassium, all of which, it so happens, can be replaced by eating one Chiquita banana. So whatever you put out, put back. Chiquita, quite possibly the world's perfect food.
Operation Desert Storm could cost as much as $60 billion for the first 3 months alone, and countries are chipping in, but not without some opposition. In Japan today, Parliament members heckled Prime Minister Kaifu when he asked for additional contributions. Two people in the public gallery threw their shoes at him. Here's a breakdown of the Allied financial contributions so far. Japan upped its pledge to $9 billion last week, but future assistance is in doubt. Germany added another $5.5 billion to the Allied war chest Tuesday. That brings the German total to $9 billion. Chancellor Kohl pledged today that his government would continue to contribute to the war effort. Saudi Arabia and Kuwait have promised $13.5 billion each. Approximately 30 other countries have contributed a total of $8 billion, most of it from Britain and France, which have sent large numbers of troops and weapons to the area. That would put the United States contribution at $15 billion for now. Officials caution, however, that war costs are highly unpredictable, depending on the length of the fighting. And even if the war ends within 3 months, enormous follow-up costs are considered likely for some time. Time now for commentary from John Chancellor. Some thoughts on the war we're not seeing tonight. John.
Tom, you could sense some public uncertainty about the war this week when the oil spill got bigger and Iraqi planes began turning up in Iran. Yet Saddam Hussein's twists and turns shouldn't make anyone forget the very serious trouble he is in. Michael Kelly of the New Republic has an eyewitness account of American missiles hitting Baghdad the day the war began. He went to look at the Ministry of Defense, which had been struck by one American cruise missile. Two more, launched from perhaps 400 miles away, landed precisely, exactly on target. The ministry was demolished. The hospital next door was untouched. This has been going on for 2 weeks, scaring the people of Iraq half to death. A Reuters reporter says the cruise missiles traveled down the streets of Baghdad at what he called an almost sedate pace, about 3 stories above the ground, terrifying everybody and landing with pinpoint accuracy. B-52 bombers are being used against Iraq's Revolutionary Guards, and the Pentagon is now giving figures on those raids. B-52s can cause colossal damage, as we saw in Vietnam. 6 of them in one raid can turn an area 2 miles long by half a mile wide into smoking rubble. A place as big as New York's Central Park could be pulverized in a single B-52 raid. And for 2 weeks, the B-52s have been doing this to targets in Iraq and Kuwait. It's been a difficult few days in the war, and Saddam Hussein has been skillful at using his strength. Those who oppose him would be wise to remember theirs. Tom?
Thank you, John. And on Wall Street today, stocks were way up in very heavy trading today to the highest level since mid-August.
It was a night for amore. Amore music, amore romance. But when they brought the grated topping, I said, no more. See, some grated toppings are only 2/3 cheese and 1/3 fats and fillers. But Kraft is 100% grated Parmesan cheese. Now that's amore like it. Kraft 100% grated Parmesan for 100% great Parmesan taste. Mmm.
Farragran wants to know, what did you do today? Farragran M, fine-tuned for the way you live.
How do professionals clear tough clogs?
Pour in the power.
New professional strength liquid Drano with 3 ingredients to power through clogs. New professional strength liquid Drano. Now you can
pour in the power.
My dad knows all about space vehicles. He directed me to the new Oldsmobile Silhouette. Its looks are stellar, and the interior is perfect for the enterprising family. The modular seats pull out easily. There's a place for everything. Compared to other forms of space travel, Silhouette is the logical choice. Right, Dad?
Eminently logical.
This is the new
Silhouette. Travel in space and style.
If you're looking for a great vacation, start at the top. Take a 3, 4, or 7-day fun ship vacation on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
On the home front, today's report that 12 Marines were killed in that ground fighting along the Saudi-Kuwait border, officially described as light losses considering the intensity of the battle. However, NBC's Keith Morrison tonight is in a community where the news cannot be taken lightly at all.
And we've attacked 38 airfields,
In Oceanside, California, the television was a terrible thing to look at, but irresistible.
Look at where they're at.
Tammy Comer could not stay away from it, from the news that could have personal meaning. Her husband, she is almost sure, was not in the fight that killed 12 Marines. But now she waits with new tension.
I'm real worried now that my husband is closer in there, and just, I'm sorry that there's people dying over this.
Around Camp Pendleton is a kind of worried expectation. What will the names of the first casualties be? And among the families who live around here is a new phase of waiting. Military spokesmen would not identify the bases from which the dead Marines may have come, a silence in which nerves jangle. Could they be from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina?
Somebody's husband or somebody's brother or somebody's.
Could they be from Camp Pendleton, California?
It's just getting to me. And I have so much compassion and love for all those troops over there. I just wish they could all come home and it'd be over.
Now it is much too serious for rose-colored thoughts. Now it is scary.
My children do not know that it's already gone into ground. I didn't tell them.
These are the children of a soldier named Tony Ortega. They are much too young to understand the dangers their father is facing. A thought Mary Ortega cannot escape as she tries to keep life on track. What else can she do? But what if it's him?
I'm young. I have 3 kids. I don't know. To start all over again. Just be real hard.
Who's dead and who lives? They wait for names. Keith Morrison, NBC News, Oceanside, California.
That's Nightly News up to the minute. I'm Tom Brokaw. This special edition will continue on many of these stations in a moment.